Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center, ladies and gentlemen. I am Tyler Gallo.
And I'm John Hanna, and we have a great show for you today.
That's right, John. We've got football, soccer, hockey, anything you can think of, we've got it tonight. And John, what else do we have?
Well, you mentioned hockey. Women's hockey, they're doing something, or they're taking on their second straight top 5 opponent, and I'm sitting down with Mason Gray, member of the safety on the Colonials football team.
Yeah, and speaking of the football team, let's take it to their highlights. After their electric win against St. Francis last week, the football team had a New York state of mind when they traveled to Wagner and in search of their first 2-0 NEC start since 2011. To put that in perspective, the Atlanta Thrashers were still a team in the NHL when back in 2011, let's take a look at that one. The Colonials defeated Wagner and started 2-0, 21-13. Elijah Jackson with 16 rushes for 87 yards. Tim Vecchio with 2 catches for 53 yards and a touchdown. Jacob White with 12 tackles for the Colonials. Christian Alexander Stevens was 22 for 41 with 213 yards, a touchdown and an interception for the Seahawks. Adam Giordano with 3 catches for 55 yards. Chris Williams had 7 tackles and 1 forced fumble in that matchup. And we will send it over to John Hanna, who sits down with Mason Gray.
Thanks, Tyler. And as you mentioned, I'm here with Mason Gray. Mason, you played under Coach Clark when you actually transferred from Albany, so you played under Coach Clark.
Yes, sir.
What sort of changes do you see from this team and that Albany team?
Definitely a lot of the players, they're definitely sponges. There's no egos on this team. Everyone's ready to accept new learning and be able to be taught and coached how I would want them to be coached.
And you mentioned the learning. You were captain of this team. We were talking earlier. You were also captain on Albany. How does that leadership role play into your style of play and just what you try to teach these younger kids?
Definitely just have your ears open. The more you know, the better you are. So that was a big thing that I did at Albany. My first year, even though I was a starter, I was always learning. I was always listening to the older safeties that were on the other side and that were in front of me. So definitely having an open ear and then taking that, what I learned, and then transferring it over to the younger players here.
And then coming off that big win last week against Wagner, you guys are this weekend, playing a 2-6 Bryant team. What do you guys expect from that team this weekend?
Definitely a lot of energy. Flying around the ball, a lot of hats to the ball, running hard on the offensive end, and execution. That's the biggest thing that we've been talking about throughout this week of practice is executing. Can we do what we've been coached to do on Saturday when game time comes?
And that game at home, Florida, your next 5 to end out the season are at home. How do you guys, you're 0-2 so far at home. I keep saying at home at Joe Walton Stadium. But this Colonials fan base, how are you going to try and just keep them involved?
It's definitely a big thing that I've been talking about to our players because it has been a great show out throughout the year, these first 2 home games. We came up short in the first 2. We felt that we could have done better as a team. We should have came out with those W's, but we want the fans to keep coming out. We're going to get this W on Saturday, and we're going to keep playing with energy, and it's going to be a fun time. When we win, they're going to have fun. Alumni is going to have fun, so it's all going to be a party.
And then how important are the fans? Obviously, Albany, a bit larger of a school, more of a fan base there, but how is it to have these fans so close?
It's definitely a huge part. It's a huge part, especially here with the fans being so close to you, because at Albany, it was a bigger stadium, so they were a little bit further back from you. But the fans are right there. You can hear everybody talking. It's a huge pickup for me, hearing those people say my name and other players on our team's name. So it's definitely a big boost to our energy on the field.
And then I keep going back to Albany, but they were not more successful, but I guess they've seen more success over the past couple of years than Robert Morris has. How have you tried to bring that winning culture to this program? Just
telling the players win every rep. Yeah, so you got to focus on the rep that's in front of you. Don't focus on things too far ahead. Don't focus on 2 games from now, 3 games from now. Focus on what is right in front of you. So that's what I try to get across to each player. And just working hard, even in practice, when the coaches aren't looking, do what you have to do because it shows up on Saturday. So that's the biggest thing. And you mentioned don't look 2 games ahead. How do you prevent yourself specifically from looking over a potential easy opponent like a D2 team that you might have played earlier this year? The way I look at it is because I've been hurt and I've gone through those trials and tribulations of missing out on games, I have that knowledge that I know that it can be taken away from me at any time. So my biggest thing, I just try to go hard every play, give it my all on every play because I never know when my last play is going to be.
And how excited is that locker room now that you guys are 2-0 in conference?
It's definitely it's been up, and that's one of the parts that scares me the most because we haven't experienced that winning culture in a long time. So now that we're getting back to that winning, I just don't want the players' heads to get too big. So I've been trying to keep the guys grounded, knowing that we still have to work each game and each day to get better. And if we do that, then the wins will come.
And you mentioned you're trying to keep your guys grounded. How does Coach Clark also play into that role, keeping you guys focused week to week?
Just letting us know that we made mistakes. Like when we watch film, don't think that you did better than what you actually did, and don't think you did worse than you did. That's one of the things they always say. That would be one of the biggest things about it. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mason.
Thank
We're
you.
going to send it back over to Tyler Gallo, who has some volleyball news for us.
That's right, John. Thanks, Mason, once again for sitting down with John. And so we're going to head over to the court for volleyball. They've gotten off to the most blistering start on campus in conference play, 6-0 heading into the weekend, and they headed to North Andover, Massachusetts, to play Merrimack, a team that they really handled in their first game against them. They swept them 3-0. Let's see if they can make it a perfect 6-0 in sets against Merrimack this season. Let's see if they could vanquish the Warriors in this one, and they did. Another 3-0. 3-0 in that series set against the Warriors. Emma Granger continuing to put up unreal numbers this season. 14 kills and 3 digs. Alyssa Hudak with 10 kills and Megan Cannon with 30 assists. And then for Merrimack, Brooke Liesma with 6 kills and 4 digs. Taylor Check with 9 digs and Megan Rumenap with 12 assists in that one. The Colonials improved to 7-0 on the season after this game.
And that's right, Tyler. Welcome. I'm back here. But still rolling through the NEC, the Robert Morris volleyball team traveled to Central Connecticut looking to exercise the Blue Devils in this one and win their 8th straight Northeastern Conference game. Let's head to the stats from the Nutmeg State to see if the Colonials could continue their dominance. And they would, losing only their 2nd set in NEC play, beating the Blue Devils 3-1 in this one. Lauren Kalinick, 14 kills, 15 digs. Nicola Zanoli, 16 digs. Whitney Brown, 55 assists. That's not a typo there. 55. And then for the Blue Devils, Emma Henderson, 15 kills and 13 digs. Madeline Caprellian, 11 kills, 8 digs. And Erin McDermott with 27 assists.
Yeah, volleyball has just been unreal this season, and they look to continue and go a perfect 9-0 on the season, something they haven't seen in quite some time when they headed to their next game. Their next opponent was St. Francis, and see if they could pull it off in this one against the Terriers in this one, a team that is not too bad, and it was a pretty good matchup for them. Let's take a look at those ones. So right now it's going to be a bit all St. Francis here, as the Colonials can't really seem to gain ground. You know, they had a rough going to start off of it, but they eventually pulled it out, and this one, as you see here, St. Francis picking up quite a bit of points early, but the Colonials were able to pull out that first set in the end and get it, and then over to the next one, you know, it's 21-19 St. Francis in this one, and Colonials did eventually pull that up, but let me get to the second set. It's going to start off with an emphatic spike from Maria Alfano. There's actually a dig there that was failed, but here's the spike from Alfano. Absolutely buries that one onto the Terriers side as the Colonials continue to just put up the numbers as the Terriers tried to get it back in, but they couldn't. The Colonials finished them off in this set, and they won that set as well. And then you get into the third set against the Terriers. Terriers desperately trying to mount a comeback in this one, but they were not able to. There you see 24-20, and that would be the final point for the Colonials right there, and that was it. A 3-0 yet again. They have not lost. They've only lost 2 sets this year, and that's all for the Colonials.
And coming up after the break, we have women's hockey who is looking to do something very special. They were playing a top 5 team for the 2nd week in a row, and men's hockey was looking to continue Atlantic Hockey play strong against Army. Stay tuned. We'll get right to that after the break.
Hey, Dad. I need your help asking Jessica to prom.
Of course. Love is like the ocean. You have to tread the
Oh,
waters.
Dad, that's not the kind of help I needed. Hey, Jessica. Will you go to prom with me?
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care can't wait to share their first with you.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching.
This guy, no, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie. Nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look! After playing a tough weekend against number 2 Minnesota, the Robert Morris women's hockey team, was back in action over the weekend at Neville Island as they took on number 4 Clarkson, their second week in a row against a top 5 opponent. Let's take a look at the highlights from Neville Island to see what happened. So, Colonials Golden Knights, We're going to start this off early in the first. It's going to be Ryan McGillen split it in the net and going top shelf on Ariel DeSmet. Into the second there, Taylor Turnquist from right inside the dot, also going to beat DeSmet to put Clarkson up 2-0. Now, Emily Harley, recently a defenseman, is going to put it on net, and Michaela Boyle, Clarkson transfer by the way, is going to tip it past her former team to put the Colonials within 1. And now, nice little give and go behind the back of the net, and it's going to be J.C. Gebhard who puts it in. She only needs 37 points to press Brittany Howard most all time. Now, Emily Curlett, who else? She's going to get the puck blocked, but pick up the rebound, put it at home, Colonials up 3-2. But wouldn't last long as late here in the second, Clarkson is going to get the chance as it's going to be tipped home by Ryan McGill for her second of the game. Colonials and Golden Knights tied 3-3 in that one.
And after battling the number 4 ranked Golden Knights to tie in that first game we just saw, the Colonials were right back in action the next day to see if they could play to a better result. Let's go right back to the island for that one. So picking up action first period, Colonials and Golden Knights, and right off the bat, about 5 minutes in, that's going to be Gabrielle David with her first collegiate goal in front of the net, getting the goal there for the Golden Knights, and it's 1-0 in favor of the Golden Knights there. And then again, an absolute rifle from the point from Lauren Bernard gets past Ariel DeSmet, and it's 2-0 Clarkson. But then the Colonials on the offensive, there's Maggie Burbage with her first collegiate goal. A bit of first in this game, and yeah, Maggie Burbage right there. And it's 2-1 in favor of Clarkson, and then dug out in front by Michaela Boyle once again against her old team, and it's tied at 2.
Two games in a row, Colonials crawl back from a 2-0 late deficit.
And then in the second period, here is Colonials on the offensive onslaught. That's Emily Curlett, who had a electric series for the team, and then Clarkson was able to tie it up again. It's 3-3. A lot of offense in this game here in the third period. This is going to be a breakaway for J.C. Gebhardt, and she rings it off the pipe and in, and that's 5-4 in favor of the Colonials, and they have the lead, but not for long, as Elizabeth Shigeru would get the breakaway here, and it just eludes Ariel DeSmet, and the game is tied. They'll head to overtime in this one, as that one was a tough goal to let in. Now, we go into overtime, and Gabrielle David, yet again, wide open net, her third goal of the game, season, and her career, and it's a hat trick for her. The Colonials lose this one 6-5 in overtime, but a great fight. Both games went into overtime.
And despite losing both games, they're actually still up in the top 10 rankings, climbing up from number 10 there, right behind Princeton. Some big names on there. And then you have Robert Morris. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I just think they've had a really, really good season. You saw how they battled against number 2 Minnesota and number 4 Clarkson. They took Clarkson to overtime in both games. And this ranking is a great ranking for them. That's really much how they played here. They played a really good game, also went to overtime against Minnesota, lost a tough one in the second game, obviously, but I think that ranking is exactly where they want to be.
And there's a chance for them to even further that as they take on Clarkson this week in Ithaca. But we'll get more on that later. And now, CHA Player of the Week, Emily Curlett, second week in a row. I mean, what more can you say that hasn't been already said about Emily Curlett?
Yeah, she's had an absolutely electric start to the season. 4 goals and 5 assists for 9 points, and she has a rocket of a shot from the point.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly who you
One
want
of the
on the
hardest on the team, no doubt.
Yeah. So she's been very, very exciting to watch so far this season.
But as a team from upstate New York came down to play the women's team, the Robert Morris men's hockey team marched up to West Point, New York, to take aim and try to battle with the Army Black Knights, looking to stay undefeated in Atlantic hockey play and beat Army for the first time in almost exactly 2 years. So let's check the stats from Army to find out. Unfortunately, wouldn't be done. Colonials dropped this one 4-1 to the Black Knights. Jacob Coleman, lone goal for the Colonials, but Justin Kapelmaster made 37 saves in that one, while for Army, Michael Wilson, 2 goals, Alex Wilkinson with a goal, and Zach Avancho, a goal and an assist in that one. But they'd have a chance for revenge the next night.
That's right. After a disheartening loss in the first game at West Point for the Colonials stayed put for the second game against Army, hoping goalie Justin Kapelmaster could improve on a rough one in Game 1. He did make 37 saves, but he was going to put up another electric amount of saves today. That's 44 on the game for him. Cameron Ebert with 1 goal for the Colonials, and Trevin Kozlowski, only 17 shots faced for Army, and the Colonials were able to, they got outshot by Army, and they were able to win this game.
Well, that was Cameron Ebert's first goal in that one, but what do we have coming up after the break for all the CSC fans?
We've got a lot of sports coming up, just kidding. We've got one sport, and that's soccer coming up for you right after the break. Stay tuned for all the action here on Colonial Sports Center.
Hey, Dad, I need your help asking Jessica to prom.
Of course. Love is like the ocean. You have to tread the
Oh,
waters.
Dad, that's not the kind of help I needed. Hey, Jessica. Will you go to prom with me?
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care can't wait to share their first with you.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth.
He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching.
This guy, no, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. We're going to take it to women's soccer, who heads into crunch time of their season here with a matchup against St. Francis. Let's see if they could continue to stay alive in the playoff chase here with their action against St. Francis University. And unfortunately, they lost this one 2-1. The Colonials, the time is running out for them on the season. 2-1 the final. Brittany O'Connell did score for the Colonials in this one. Kayla Veloso Lima with 5 shots, and Sydney Bruckner with 11 saves. That's a lot of shots to pester a goalie with. Emily Barnett with a goal, Mariana Jaleko with a goal, and Julia Hernan with 3 saves for St. Francis. A lot less shots for the Colonials than St. Francis.
After going to women's took on one St. Francis, men's was going to Brooklyn to take on the other. Coming into their game, the Robert Morris men's soccer team had only won 2 of their previous 8 games, and they hadn't beaten the Terriers in Brooklyn since 2015. I was still a freshman in high school back then.
Same here.
Let's check out the highlights from the Big Apple to find out how the Colonials would do against the Terriers. So, Colonials Terriers, as I mentioned, we're going to start this off early in the first half here, it's going to be Nicholas Molina rolling out and putting it right past Mike Zolnerchek. Now, a corner. Very wet here. It's going to be Raul Naranjo, Kieran Young to put the Terriers up 1-0. Now, a bit later in the frame here. Great from the goal line to the goal. It's going to be Nicholas Molina, who actually does manage to score that one. Now, into the second half here. We're going to see some great saves by Mike Zolnerchek here to keep this goal, to keep the deficit at 2-0. He faced 27 shots in this game. Great performance from the freshman. Now it's going to be Raven Shockey, the Canadian, is going to manage to beat Zolnerchek to put it 3-1. And now, great through pass to Eduardo Belfonte, saved by Zolnerchek, but Belfonte is going to be able to tap it back in to put it 4-0. Time winding down here in the game. Another corner, this time by Belfonte, and it's going to be headed in by Vicente Gallardo. Colonials lose 5-0.
Yeah, John, well, we just went through all the sports there, but let's take a look at some of the most exciting plays over the week as we take a look at Colonial Sports Center's top 5. So the first one, yeah, we're gonna go to volleyball for that one. It's an exciting play and
just a great performance overall by that volleyball team, as we mentioned.
Of course, 9-0 in NEC. Just, I mean, what more can you say about this season?
Oh, and then, well, what's your game of the week? Sorry to cut that short, but excuse me, we're going to the top 5 right now. So, number 5, as you mentioned, this volleyball. Great spike here by the Colonials.
Yeah, Maria Alfano.
Now, number 4, we're going to see that give and go I talked about earlier. It's going to be J.C. Gebhard putting that puck in the net.
Yeah, and then at number 3, just a great play by Gebhard. Number 3, another Colonials. It's Emily Curlett. We talked about her before, just a knuckle puck. Russ Tyler would say knuckle puck time on that one. That one goes into the net, and it's that's our 3rd play of the week.
And now, just great defense. Beat her 5-hole. Now, number 4. It's going to be Mike Zolnerchek, no relation to Harry. Great save there on the cross. It's going to be number 23 there. Get it, but pushed it away. Now, number 1.
This one was expected for number 1. J.C. Gebhard, breakaway, goes posting in.
5-on-3, the Colonials were down.
Yeah, they were down 2 in that one, and they got the lead. Unfortunately, it would not hold. But a great shot from Gebhard. What more can you say about her?
Stones the goalie on that breakaway. Because you don't expect a breakaway on a 5-on-3 when you're on the penalty or on the power play. But what's your game of the week to watch?
Well, John, this week we just talked about them playing against 2 ranked opponents, especially against a tough one in Clarkson, and we're going back to women's hockey for this one. That's my game.
Another ranked opponent.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the toughest strength of their schedule by far.
Yeah.
But they travel to Ithaca.
Yeah, so obviously take a look at this one. They play Cornell, who has not played a game yet this year, but obviously you're going to want to look out for Emily Carlette. We mentioned her before, coming off that CHA Player of the Week. 5 goals and 5 assists for 10 points this season. And then Maddie Mills, 18 goals, 21 assists for 39 points. Obviously that's not this season.
No.
That would be crazy, but last season she had 39 points. A great player. And their last meeting was November 24th, 2018. It ended in a tie.
I think that's going to be a fun game to watch. Obviously 2 games, both in New York, but they've played well against these top 5 opponents. Another one in Cornell. It's going to be impressive to watch this team as they continue to battle.
Exactly. They took 2 ranked teams to overtime, including 2 against Clarkson. Some of the most exciting games we've seen in women's hockey play over the last 2 years.
If you ignore that 3rd period against Minnesota, they're right there every single day. Every single game. It's not even the 3rd period. It was the last 10 minutes.
Exactly.
But for my game to watch, I'm going football. I mean, they're 2-0, trying to go 3-0 for the first time in a while. Let me just tell you that much. 3-4 right now, 2-0 in the NEC. My players to watch, Elijah Jackson for the Colonials. 698 yards and 3 touchdowns and only 127 carries. And for Bryant, it's going to be Corey Curtis, their quarterback. 113 of 197. 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns in this one. Obviously, Bryant, they beat the Colonials last year, but they're only 1-2 in the NEC this year.
Yeah, and the Colonials, albeit surprisingly, are at 2-0. What do you think about this game, John?
It's a big one. Yeah. They can either show that they're a real contender in the NEC, win 3 games the first time in, I can't even remember how long that is. But if they lose, still 2-1, but I think Bryant's the really only beatable team left in this conference for the Colonials. But we've previewed 2 games. What else is there for the Colonials this week, Tyler?
Well, there is a full slate of action, as usual for the weekend. On Friday, we got women's soccer at Central Connecticut State at 12.
A lot of away games this week, let me tell you.
And then men's soccer versus Sacred Heart at 3, women's hockey at Cornell at 6 p.m., and men's hockey at Penn State at 7:05 on Friday. That game last year was exciting. Expect another exciting one this year.
And on Saturday, football takes on Bryan at 12. Women's hockey traveling to get back in Cornell, 3 p.m. You don't want to miss any of those games.
Yeah, a lot of great action this weekend, but that is all we have for you today. Once again, I'm Tyler Gallo.
I'm John Hanna.
And for Mason Gray, we will see you next week.
I need your help asking Jessica to prom.
Of course. Love is like the ocean. You have to tread the
Oh,
waters.
Dad, that's not the kind of help I needed. Hey, Jessica. Will you go to prom with me?
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care can't wait to share their first with you.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth.
He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching.
This guy, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look,